Jayden Quaintance is tactical and practical. He executes on defense with perfect technique. And last season, his 9.8 block rate ranked second among all freshmen while being 17 years old. This is what my guest today on this installment of the Above and Beyond Conversations, Logan Adams, wrote about Jayden Quaintance. Logan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thank you for coming on. And with Jayden Quaintance, I think that you described him pretty perfectly. And yeah, there's no doubt that his defense is really the selling point on what you want from him, and what, in my opinion, makes him a potential top five pick. Even I'm probably gonna end up a little bit lower on him on my own preseason board, probably around that top seven, top eight range. But he's definitely a top 10 lock for me. I'm wondering for you, I know that you're going to be releasing your board soon. What sort of range are you thinking about with Quaintance this early on in this draft cycle?
Yeah, so I accidentally released the big board today. It just came out a couple hours ago. But Quentin Swington came in ranked number 5 there. So perfectly rounding out that Dybanta, Peterson, Boozer, Mikael Brown core that this class has. I feel like that's my pretty set in stone top 5, at least for preseason. But what makes Quentin such a special prospect, as you said, is the defense. He's 6'9", 6'10". I believe Kentucky has him listed at now 7'5" wingspan. He's bulked up a good amount since he got to Arizona State. So just a guy with elite physical tools. He's light on his feet. Hopefully, still has the same kind of burst and fluidity that he has northeast, southwest once he returns from injury. But what really impresses me is just his mind. He's a step ahead. His hands are always where they need to be. His feet are working harder than his arms when he's guarding on the ball, which are just the things that you really need out of a great defender. I think he can really be that anchor, even if he isn't traditional 7-foot center size. But offensively, this is a guy who I think is still learning what he needs to add under Mark Pope. I think he's going to have the perfect opportunity to fill in where he can be impactful. One point that I saw just going throughout his season last year was what he can do at the top of the key as a playmaker. He's really great in delay actions, finding his teammates, working as a handoff hub. But just his athleticism and his defense and his tools, all in the package of an 18-year-old who's going to be still 18 by the time he gets drafted, is really impressive.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, and we're going to keep getting to his offensive development as well, because that's really crucial, I think, as to, what his draft stock or the evolution of that really might look like throughout this draft cycle. But everything that you're saying about his defense, I mean, it's absolutely true. I like to say that Jayden is a stock machine, just because every single
Mhm.
game he's guaranteed to get you multiple steals, multiple blocks. Even when he's not getting a steal or a block, he's still, shutting down actions. He's, switching on the perimeter, moving his feet. He can do a lot of stuff defensively. And in the piece that you wrote about him recently, you're saying that, of course, we have to understand the contextual differences, and, obviously just keep kind of a logical mindset here when we do draft evaluations. But guys like Chet Holmgren, Evan Mobley, they were awesome defenders in college already. They've been awesome defenders in the NBA. How confident are you that Quaintance can reach that sort of level once he is a pro? Because so far at the college level, I think that he's shown just as much, or, even more than them, arguably.
Yeah, pound for pound, he's just as elite on that end of the floor as anybody in the last 10, 15 years. But the thing that might separate a guy like Evan Mobley or a guy like Chet Holmgren from him is the fact that they were also high value adds on offense. With Chet, it was the fact that he just didn't miss in the restrict area and he was a 40% shooter from three. With Evan, it was the fact that he was a absurd post up threat who dunked everything and could really run an offense at the five. With USC, those guys were all American first team their freshman year. Quaintance wasn't quite that, obviously, different program with Arizona State, who's kind of been in a slump the last few years. But with Kentucky, now that he's kind of the same age as those guys, He'll be recovering from injury, sure, but when he comes back, I fully expect to get that same kind of impact defensively. And once he gets to the league, I think there's a good opportunity that he is just as good as he was, if not better.
Kentucky under Mark Pope, yeah, it's a really interesting opportunity, I think, to really kind of flesh out that offensive repertoire. Everything that you were saying earlier about him acting as a handoff hub or, playing around the elbows to facilitate, I think he'll get chances to do all of that.
Mm.
And even, I think that I'm at the point now where my sort of safest end outcome or lowest end outcome, if you want to call it that as well, with Quaintance on offense is actually something I feel fairly comfortable with. I think that there's always going to be a role for him as a play finisher. You mentioned in your piece as well, he's a pretty good offensive rebounder. So that ability to extend possessions as well is going to be very valuable. I think that he's shown enough, in my opinion, as a ball handler, as a face-up guy, to make you believe that there's some untapped potential there to explore. So I'm just curious. You said that there could very well be a world where he never gets above 15 points a game. Now that you've had a little bit of time to, sit in that opinion, do you think that's still true? Or do you now envision maybe a possibility where he does, keep growing his offense and he gets to a point sort of like Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren, where that part of his game is also very important?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a world where he does end up being like a good offensive player. Uh, just currently, there's a much higher curve to get to that point than the other guys you've listed. He's a great play finisher. He'll be able to grab offensive rebounds, extend possessions. He can run some sets as a passer and pass over the top defenses. That's something that I really like about his game. But as a scorer, I don't know if he's ever going to really have the on-ball kind of ability that we've seen other high-caliber defensive bigs in the past develop. For Quaintance, it really is just the fact that his defense is so special that makes him a top 5 pick, in my opinion. But as far as getting to 15 points per game, I think that would just be a little difficult considering the offensive arsenal he currently has developed. It's just a lot of getting to the rim. He'll occasionally put the ball on the floor and drive, get to dunk on somebody, which is really impressive when it happens. But it doesn't really mix it up a ton with floaters or hooks or post-ups and obviously the shot still needs to come around. So just in terms of what allows him to get to that kind of plateau of 15 points per game, it's going to be a little challenging.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a little tough. I mean, you can be optimistic, but at the end of the day, you kind of look at his numbers from last season, about 9 points a game on 53.6% true shooting, shot 48% from the free throw line, which I think that's what really needs to improve the most, more than any sort of, set shot or spot up shooting, really. And then his assist to turnover ratio is less than 1. So all of those things, I mean, you can only look at stats so much and you got to pair it with the tape. But I think regardless of which one of those you look at, you'll notice that there's plenty of improvement that needs to still happen and sort of take shape on offense. Logan, as we look towards this season, his first at Kentucky now that he's transferred, and what I'm guessing will be his last college season as well. I'm looking to see what we've been mentioning, that sort of expanded offensive role. And then I'm also going to be tracking how he gets back from this ACL surgery. For you, what are you looking to see from JQ this season, either in those areas or outside of those areas?
Well, as I've kind of alluded to, he is a very good passer for his position. I don't think it showed in the assist to turnover ratio. Part of that is just how Arizona State used him. Another is the fact that a lot of their guards and shooters were more on ball, comfortable playing on the ball than off. But if there's one thing about Mark Pope and his offense is that he knows how to utilize a big who can pass. You go back to BYU with Ali Khalifa, who's at Louisville now. You go to Amari Williams this past year at Kentucky. These are all guys who are huge, who can sit at the top of the key, or in the post and have actions run around them, I think Quaintance is going to fit into that beautifully. And if that's where his offensive role is, more so as a passer and a play finisher than a go-to scorer, I still think he can end up being a top 5 pick regardless.
And let me just ask you one last question then, because I'm as high on him as you. I think that he can be a top 5 pick as well. But
Mhm.
do you think it's likelier from now until the end of this season, or I'll actually say until draft time, rather? Do you think it's likelier that his stock improves, or do you think it's likelier that it slides a little bit?
I think from now until about whenever it is that he comes back from injury, it seems like that might be a month or two. Um, there's a chance we see him start sliding down boards. People are going to forget about him. We're going to be focused on who's playing well, who's not, and not really who isn't playing at all. So I think there's going to be kind of a makeup period for his stock when he comes back from injury. He'll still be hovering around my top 5. I'm sure somebody's going to surprise me and leap him on my board. But for now, he's pretty firmly in that top 5. I think once the season gets going, that obviously is subject to change. But just from a talent perspective, I don't think there's 5 better players in this class than him.
Well, Logan, I appreciate you coming on to this installment of the Above and Beyond conversations, giving me the lowdown on JQ. I think this is a guy that we're both pretty high on. We want to see him keep growing as a scorer and as a playmaker, or, showing more as a playmaker. But we absolutely love his defense. We think that he can be a top 5 guy or thereabouts once it's draft time. So, Logan, if you will, can you remind everyone where they can find your work throughout the rest of this draft cycle?
Yeah, you can find my work at Prospects and Concepts. It's going to be loganadamsnba.com. Still need to work on getting a new domain for that to match the title of the blog, but that's where all my draft stuff is going to be. I just came out with my big board. That's going to be 50 prospects ranked and tiered. Top 10 is free to view, but if you want to subscribe for $5 a month, you can get the full 50. Other than that, I just post a lot of draft content on my Twitter page, and I cover the Mid-American Conference for midmajorbasketball.com. All that is in my Twitter bio at Logan B. Adams. If you want to go check that out, please feel free to do so, and subscribe or follow wherever it is